It's just so bad. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and I just finished watching the first 3 episodes of the Halo TV show, and to be quite honest, I absolutely hated it. The acting sucks, the characters don't make sense, Master Chief is butt naked for some parts of it, and additionally, they make the humans look absolutely evil in every single way. It's just terrible. So please, if you could, like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. It's time to roast this very worthy dumpster fire. Now, let me start things off by saying that I am a big fan of the Halo series, but specifically, I've always loved the story itself. There's like 30 different Halo books, and I've read all of them. Or I guess I've read about 25 of them so far, and I enjoy them a lot. I've even tracked down the weird, obscure stuff like Dr. Halsey's personal journal that shows a bunch of notes about how she made the Spartans, or even things like, of course, beating all the games, mainline and spin-offs. And let's just face it, part of the reason that the Halo series works so well in video game format is because it's just about humans facing off against aliens. It's about you trying to pull the trigger and save humanity one bullet at a time. A television show, it feels like it's trying to be much more like Game of Thrones. It feels like it wants to have all these different rival factions of good humans against bad humans, good covenant against bad covenants, in a way. I don't know. And at the center of all of it is a very worthless Master Chief. Now, I want to break this video into 3 separate parts. I want to talk about the very corrupt humans, which suck. There's the Covenant, and then I do want to talk about Master Chief specifically. Let's begin with Master Chief, because obviously he is the titular character. Everything rides on his back. The actor playing Master Chief does a very, very bad job. He feels so flat and so emotionless, but additionally, I feel like just the way they've chosen to portray him is such a bad way. One of the things that makes Master Chief so different, and the Spartans in general, a step above normal humanity, is their physical augmentations. This is something that's very well documented in the games, but they were kidnapped as children, brainwashed, manipulated, and then injected and physically given surgeries to make them stronger, faster, and smarter than a typical soldier could ever be. Master Chief is like 8 feet tall. He can bench press a car literally inside of his suit. He's straight up built different, and that's cool. It makes it where when things go bad, 1 Spartan is worth 100 soldiers, and that is something that's effective in the war against the Covenant. But this Master Chief loves to take his helmet off, he loves to just hang out, and he seems like a kind of tiny guy. Like, one of the weirdest parts about this is that maybe it's because they keep doing a bunch of downward angles, but Master Chief spends a lot of time just hanging out with people, or sometimes hanging out with little kids and stuff, and while he's there, he just seems like a normal dude. He seems like pretty muscly, I guess, but he doesn't seem like this larger than life figure. And additionally, I do have to complain about the fact that Master Chief keeps taking off his armor. He wears his entire full suit for about 45 seconds of the entire series. There's an opening firefight in the first episode where he's got all of his gear on, and then he immediately takes his helmet off, and then he never puts it back on. I guess he puts it on about once, but he just doesn't seem to care. Even the other Spartans just keep taking their helmets off and talking to each other. Like I'm not expecting them to wear it constantly. I'm not expecting them to sleep in it, but it just seems ridiculous that you would build a $1 billion suit of bulletproof armor that has all sorts of strength enhancements, and then you take it off instantly. The characters walk around in like rubber underwear at all times, and it just drives me nuts. I'm sick of seeing Master Chief's face, especially because they very explicitly say that he's not allowed to feel emotions. They say they're giving him these like pills that block his emotions. They give him a clear mind in combat. But it makes it where he just has no emotion. Like, straight up, he keeps taking off his helmet, so you'd expect him to have like, you know, those little subtle twitches of conflicted emotion during some of the bad times. But he just seems dead in the eyes at all times. Even in the 3rd episode, when he actually begins to feel a little bit of emotion, he seems so flat and uninterested. At one point in the 1st episode, the military straight up commands Master Chief to shoot a child in the head. Like, that's for real. That's not a joke. They straight up say, we don't want that kid to be around. She's going to spread bad propaganda. Shoot her in the head, Master Chief. And he just goes, no thanks. Like, what the heck is even the point of having Master Chief if he's just going to keep taking his helmet off and seeming like such a emotionless soldier, just such a jerk? They even do these flashbacks that show that they completely decided to change his childhood. Like in the books, they talk about the fact that Master Chief and his friends, obviously they are kidnapped children. They're raised in the super soldier program that makes them the best of the best. But in the books, it makes it seem like the training itself was kind of fun for the kids. Like the fact that they got to run obstacle courses and constantly get tested into all these different crazy programs. A lot of times the way it's described, because the books take place first person, we hear Master Chief's thoughts inside the books. He seems to have enjoyed it. It was this big training exercise program where they'd play like capture the flag for days at a time and stuff like that. Whereas here, it makes it look like the kids are beaten and tortured or something. It shows a Spartan soldier actually escaping the camps where he'd rather like possibly die in the wilderness than be one of these Spartan soldiers. Now, I don't have a problem with them changing the story in general, because, I mean, that's sort of the medium. Like, if you're going to change something, I understand that art takes many different forms. My issue is that it just doesn't seem to make the story itself any better. It doesn't seem like it's more fitting, more well-rounded, more fleshed out. It just seems like it's trying to be deep, but in a way that actually sabotages the original plot lines. It's just so bizarre. Like, if I was the person who is directing this TV show, if I could make an analogy here to a different art form, I was hoping that we would not see the entirety of Master Chief's face. Like, in the original Arkham Asylum comic, obviously I like Batman comics a lot. In the original Arkham Asylum comic, you never see Joker's face. You see Joker's smile, you see Joker's teeth, you see Joker's silhouette, but you never see anything on Joker's actual face. It's done on purpose. It's very effective at conveying the fact that Joker is so evil, it's not about the person, it's about the message. I was hoping they'd do something like that for Master Chief, something that felt deep and artsy, like just show us his furrowed eyebrows, or those times where he's reloading a gun, maybe show us his shaking hands, stuff like that that sort of conveys the idea of Master Chief without having a bored-looking guy looking dead into the camera being like, I gotta figure out what this weapon is. But let's talk about the Covenant. So the Covenant in this, I do feel like are done pretty well at the start, which is the fact that the Covenant are obviously complete religious fanatics. They think that the best way to cleanse the universe is to kill all humans. The few times we actually see the Covenant fighting people, they are properly genocidal. They walk in, they shoot people, they don't hesitate, they easily kill the men, women, and children without a second thought. And I think that's pretty fitting because that's the way they are in the games. That's why they are just such a threat, is that they are a very immoral church of the apocalypse. Now, we see a lot of conversations with the Covenant just off on their own. The prophets are in this. We see Prophet of Mercy and Prophet of Truth sitting around in their big fancy chairs. And I will say that the actual 3D design, the way they've decided to change them, because they are a little bit different, they've done such an amazing job at making them look organic. Like, the Covenant in the games, especially the early ones, they're so goofy and puppet looking. I like the fact that they found a way to kind of walk that very fine line between making them look overly realistic or too cartoony or too CG. They did a great work making them seem physical and real and tangible. My problem is with the human Covenant. Apparently what the Covenant have been doing is that they're currently searching for the artifacts, the keys to Halo. Now, anybody who's read the books or plays the game knows what the grander purpose here. They want to find these keys to turn on Halo and wipe out all life. Although they don't realize it at the time. Basically, they're going to unleash the flood and all that. Well, in this, it turns out that somehow they already know that the humans are the keys to these devices. They realize that humans are the ones that when they touch these, they turn on. I have no idea how they figured this out, but seemingly they discovered this, and now they have this human that they've raised to be their keymaster. She is a girl who can somehow sense and find and activate all the different devices. And so can Master Chief. But this human Covenant thing, this whole storyline is so bizarre to me. The idea of like a human willingly working with the Covenant. I don't know, it kind of waters down this whole idea. The original messaging of a lot of this Halo stuff was about basically the whole idea that the humans were tainted and that even touching the relic would somehow tarnish it. So the fact that we're in some sort of version of this where they're just fine with humans, but they want to kill some humans, like, honestly, this just makes no sense. It feels so weird that they're, I don't know, so far into their plan. Like, somehow the Covenant, I guess, already know about the ring. They're already trying to activate it. Like, it just feels like we're beginning the story in Halo 3, but without some of the stuff from Halo 1. They've said that this seemingly right after First Contact. So at this point, the humans have fought with the Covenant for like a year or two, but this isn't like super deep into the war. Master Chief is still relatively new to this. It's just such a weird touch. This feels like an utterly pointless change to the story to, I guess, just have more human faces on the alien parts. Maybe you just don't want to have entire scenes of CG, so you want to have one physical actor walking around being flat and emotionless and being like, ugh, with the freaking Covenant language. Very bizarre. But let's talk about the extremely evil human major military, the UNSC, which are so cartoonishly bad. Like, these people are absolutely psychopathically evil. I already mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but in the first part of episode 1, the first direct order that they give to Master Chief is to kill a kid because she won't spread propaganda on behalf of the military. She just straight up doesn't want to go on the news and go, oh, thank you, Spartans. And so they go, well, Master Chief, just go ahead and shoot her. She's worthless. Just go ahead and kill her. Like, you know, you might think, okay, well, maybe that's going to bring up some interesting conversations about the complexities of the greater good, about how sometimes propaganda goes overboard so quick. Well, no, it doesn't do that. Every single aspect of the military and the counter-military, every group of the humans is disgustingly evil. And I have to use the word disgusting. They're constantly just being so thirsty for bloodshed. They're constantly murdering each other. They show this insurrectionist guy who's like giving cool speeches. And then while he's casually talking, he's shooting innocent people in the head one by one, like point blank, putting a gun to their head and blowing their brains out again and again. But then you think, okay, well, what about the military? The military are constantly trying to manipulate the public. They're constantly trying to build their super soldiers. Like, every single part of the humans just sucks. And how the heck am I supposed to care about this? Like, even Dr. Halsey obviously makes a clone of herself to become Cortana. If you read the books, that's where Cortana comes from. In this, you see them create Cortana. They actually get out this Halsey clone. They talk to her and they basically say like, yeah, you're not worthy of life. They tell her, we're going to liquidize your brain now and make you into an AI. They tell the clone, this is going to be extremely painful and you need to be awake for it. There's a weirdo doctor who tries to kiss the Halsey clone while it's paralyzed. Oh God. Literally every single second of the humans on screen is super cringe. Even when you see the good humans who live on the outskirts and like far out colonies and stuff, even they just seem like sycophantic freaks. Like, even this little girl, who I guess is probably going to try and become one of the main characters, Quan, she's like a survivor in episode 1. I feel like they're probably going to try and make her the Arbiter or something. I don't know. Even she just walks around covered in her father's blood for days. I don't know what they're even trying to say here. Like, every person is so hollow. The way they decided to change main characters like Captain Keyes or Miranda Keyes, the fact that every single person is ruined. Master Chief is ruined. Halsey is ruined. Every single person is ruined. It just sucks. And I'll be honest, that pisses me off. You have a great story already. You could have done this right. You chose to ruin it. You chose to suck. And I have no idea why. I'm baffled. I don't feel like I wasted any money. I already had Paramount Plus. I actually have Paramount Plus because I'm secretly completely obsessed with Star Trek, and that's where you got to go to watch Star Trek. But this is just so terrible. Don't watch it. Don't watch a second of this. You're going to regret your time. You're going to need to wash your eyeballs out. I saw Master Chief's butt cheeks. And, that was kind of good. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you could, give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. And Xbox, if Microsoft, if you somehow see this, make some Halo Infinite content. Put co-op in Halo Infinite. It's been like 6 months. Jesus Christ. What a worthless. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.